I think there's something you should know about me. I just happen to...
Hey Aussie gamers, Luke1 here, and today I will be making a video on just some general maintenance for your PlayStation 4's DualShock 4 controller here. Now this one here is probably probably close to 12 months old now, and it's got a bit grimy, a bit dirty, and the sticks are starting to get a bit smooth. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to show you just some really easy, cheap ways to make this feel a lot more like it did when it was brand new. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the sticks here. Now you can get caps that go over the top of them, which will give you a nice new grip. However, I prefer to completely replace them. Now you can pick up replacement sticks just like this on eBay for about $5 for a pair. Some are cheaper, some are more expensive, and you can buy in bulk as well, which will probably save you a bit of money there. So and then after that I'm going to show you just some really quick and easy tips on how to clean it up, and there's really nothing to it. It's a bit obvious what we'll actually be doing. So first, to change these sticks, what I recommend that you will need is a screwdriver. It's a Phillips head screwdriver, small enough that it's going to fit the screws that are on the back here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 screws that you will need to undo. Make sure it is the right size, otherwise it's just going to strip your screws and you're not going to be able to put it back on properly. Also, there's some wiring inside the controller. Don't be too scared about it. You'll see it's quite easy to deal with, but a pair of needle nose pliers will make light work of those wires as well. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and take these screws off. Okay, so I've got all 4 of those screws off now. Now the next thing you need to do to get this apart is you're going to want to, now this might be a little bit harder for the first time because there's some real fresh clips that are under out there, but you want to start prying it apart here like this. Now that's just unclipped. I want to do the other side just the same, so now that's unclipped. And then start pulling and you'll hear some horrible cracking sounds. Oh, there we go. There's that loud crack. That's just the clips unclipping. It does sound like it's breaking, but I assure you it's not. I've done this many times. So that's what you want to do. Once you start getting it to crack, you're prying it away from the handle parts there. You want to pull it apart like this, not from the top here. You don't want to lose these triggers. If they do come off, it's not too bad. They might come off and I'll be able to show you. So on the bottom here, you see there's like bit of plastic there. You need to lift that up over. Same on both sides. Okay, now you turn your attention to the top and you want to jiggle it a bit, get the trigger. Oh, see, I've just pulled the trigger off there, but we can fix that, not a problem. Let me just get this trigger out. Sometimes I have issues with these triggers and sometimes I don't. This one doesn't want to go in. There we go. Now there's also a spring. You've got to be careful not to lose these springs if your triggers do come off. That's the spring there. It's hard to focus on. So anyway, there's that spring there. Right, now what you want to do here is you've got on here, this section here is the power and cable that goes to the light bar. So taking it off is easy. You just pull it and that'll separate the 2 halves like that. Okay, so you don't really need this part anymore. Put that aside. Next part here is removing the battery. Okay, so this is the battery pack here. And you just want to unplug where those wires it just pulls out. It's not clipped in or anything like that. It's literally just a plug. So you just got to pull it out. Be careful, don't pull it by the wires, you might wreck them. Alright, pop that aside. Alright, now in the previous models, if you've got an older controller, like one of the day one controllers, you might want to be careful with this section here. Now there's a reset button in there, and it's a little rubberized button. On the original controllers that came out with the console, that rubber button just sat in and would easily fall out. In the later models, which this one is, it's built into like a little plastic housing now, so it can't fall out. So you won't have to worry about it too much, but just keep that in mind depending on which type of controller you actually have and which one you're pulling apart. Now there's another screw inside here, just in the middle part there, using the same screwdriver bit that you use to unscrew the housing or the chassis. We'll take that off. Now it is different to the other ones. It's a little bit smaller, so you want to keep that one separate. Now that you've taken that out, you've got to take off this little ribbon plug here, which connects the touchpad to the motherboard. So once again, we're using the pliers. That's what the pliers are here for. You get in there, grab that little blue tab, and that's all that is. It's just there to help. Don't pull it too hard because you don't want to rip it. You want to unplug it there. So that's now separate. And now you can pull the motherboard away from the controller. Oh, we've lost the reset button, and now we've got the control or the thumbsticks exposed. So now it's literally you just pull them off. Oh, pop the old ones aside because we don't want to accidentally put them back on. Grab the new ones here that cost me about $5 and pop them on. There we go, 1 and 2. Right, now I did lose a button, so I've got to get this one back in here. This is either the start or the options or the share button. I think it's the options button, so I'll just slip. Okay, so that's back in. Reversing the process now, popping that back in. First thing, don't forget, you need to put that ribbon, plug that ribbon back in. So get this to focus and do it up close. It's a bit awkward doing it for the camera. Okay, so that's back in. Yep, that's good. Alright, so next thing to do is to put that screw back in. Make sure everything's all lined up. Now's a good time to do a quick button test. So they feel good, they click, everything else is feeling right. Yep, touchpad clicks, the buttons click, everything feels good. Right, so next thing to do is put the battery back. Okay. It's got a guide there as well, so you won't be able to put it back in the wrong way. That plugs goes back in like that. Okay, now the next thing to do is now we want to get the two halves back together. So we're going to get this one back here. However, before we get doing that, we want to make sure we get this plugged back in to the motherboard after we unplugged it. Now don't worry too much if you do plug it in the wrong way. All that will mean is that the light won't turn on. But you can just check it now that the battery's back on. Press the power button. The light's flashing. So that means she's plugged in the right way. Alright, now I just realised I haven't put back the... I might just unplug that again. And I'll show you how to do the trigger. Now, just grab the spring. Now the spring on this one being L2 is going to go on this side here. Whoops. Just put it on there. And there's a little groove which is going to be hard to illustrate. That the spring goes into on the controller. Oh, it's just fallen off. It's really awkward trying to do this to the camera. There we go. So that's in there. And you just press it on. Ooh. Yeah, and that's in the slot, so that's back on there like that. It'll make sense when you're looking at it in real life. Alright, so let's put this back on. Okay, that light's come on, so that's correct. Now the first thing to do to put it back together is to do the triggers first. So this wants to go over the top and then slide it down, and your triggers should go back in to the backing with a bit of fiddling around. Now it's going to feel locked because if you look on the other side here, if I hold it properly, they're going to be knocking onto these things here that we originally did, so you just push them underneath. I'll slightly bend and get that like that. Now keep in mind, if you do have the older controller, like I was saying with the reset button, you're going to have to keep an eye on that and keep holding it this way and don't move it until it's all in place. Otherwise that rubber reset button is going to fall out, which is no doubt why they changed that design, because it was a bit of a pain. Alright, so it's just going to be a little bit of trial and error, flicking it around until you eventually get it back on like that. You'll hear it snap in place. Once again, try your buttons. Make sure they all click. Yep, that's feeling good after I've clicked it all in. Alright, so those click as well. Press this one, that's all good. Alright, so we're going to put these screws back on, and then we're going to go through one final thing on making the controller feel just that little bit more fresh. Okay, so that's all back together now. The controls feel nice. It's got a little bit more grip on there than it did before. All the triggers are good. Buttons fine. Alright. Now what you want to get yourself is something like this. Alright, so it's just a multi-purpose cleaning wipes. It's like baby wipes. Just set this up. Now, just get one of these things. They're designed, these ones are for use on electrical devices, and it's not going to do any damage, and it's not going to hurt the electronics at all, because they're only moist, they're not wet. And be vigorous, go around the whole thing. And it's as simple as this, to clean all the grime off it, get it into the cracks, and clean your controllers. This is something that's neglected. Now, even the most vigilant person like myself, I don't like to eat food and then touch my controllers straight after, but sometimes I don't obey the rules and I end up getting greasy controllers or grubby controllers, even just your normal hands with sweat and you know, day-to-day sort of use with your hands and stuff like that is going to make these things dirty and grimy. So even if you are very vigilant with not getting food on your controllers, doesn't mean that they're going to be perfectly clean. So that should be enough, and that should look really nice now. Around the buttons. You're not going to hurt it. That's it. And there you have it. A near new controller. Now this thing's 12 months old, like I said. I have changed the controller on it before. After a few serious gaming sessions, you're going to wear these things down and they're going to get dirty. So do yourself a favour. These things are worth nearly $100 Australian. Keep them clean, keep them in good condition, do a little bit of maintenance on them, and they'll last you a long time. It's worth doing, otherwise you're going to be popping $80 to $100 every time one of these things wear out. So that's all I got for you today. Thank you very much for watching, everyone, and look after your gaming supplies. Take care. Luke1 out.